Hello and welcome to MSP-TV. From the fourth day of the second meeting of states parties to the UN Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. Today in the Trusteeship Council, we've heard about universality and they've discussed Article 12 with the co-chairs Malaysia and South Africa. Later on today, we will hear from Seth Sheldon and Mr. Muhadi Sugioni about the process on universalisation. Just Article 4. Towards the elimination of nuclear weapons and disarmament verification, with the co-chairs Mexico and New Zealand. They've discussed Article 6 and 7 about victim assistance, environmental remediation, and international cooperation. Kazakhstan and Kiribati are co-chairing the informal working group on that topic. They've also discussed the trust fund for exactly to realize and implement victim assistance. Hinamora Cross, who we heard from earlier today, delivered a powerful statement from ICAN during that session. We had a lot of side events. The Kazakh youth had a side event about the Soviet test at Semipalatinsk site, where the local population got little or no warning before the tests were conducted. We've heard about climate change and the connections to nuclear weapons, connecting the dots between what's going on here in the UN and at COP. We've had an event about how to persuade nuclear-armed states to give up their weapons. And as the other days, we've had many events centering the affected communities and humanitarian consequences. Art and activism are closely connected. And as we've seen here at the second MSP, both in the halls with different exhibitions, we've seen it online, and a lot of artists have been involved in all the events that has been going on throughout the Nuclear Ban Week. We talked to Pedro Reis, a driving force behind the Artist Against the Bomb. We will also see what happened in the town hall yesterday.
Listo.
My name is Pedro Reyes, and we are here at the Jod Foundation to present Artists Against the Bomb, which is an exhibition organized in collaboration with ICAN on occasion of the meeting of state parties for the Treaty on Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. And this is a series of posters that comprise images that some of them are historical, some of them are newly commissioned works that have been made from artists all around the world that have messages on the subject of nuclear disarmament. And we decided to do these posters in black and white for the ease of reproduction and power that protest graphics have. And the posters exist in different formats. They're digital archives that can be downloaded and printed locally, because we want to make an exhibition that is cost-effective, that doesn't involve shipping, and that can be replicated in different parts. We have presented the project in different cities with partnership with other organizations in cities like Oslo, Copenhagen, Berlin, and now in New York. There's two exhibitions actually taking place right now. One is at the United Nations headquarters, and the other one here at the Jobs Foundation in Soho. And what you will see behind me is like a series of posters that have include works from photography, some photography that go back to 1945 in the aftermath of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Others are literature. Some of them are poetry, some of them are fiction. Even film is included as in the form of scripts from iconic movies that talk about nuclear war, and also a lot of visual arts from different kinds. Some of them are cartoons, some of them are paintings and drawings, and this is an effort of many artists that want to support the Nuclear Ban Treaty and that have accepted the invitation to do these posters to raise awareness about the dangers of nuclear war. And we invite you to visit our website, artistsagainstthebomb.org, or or Instagram page. You will find it also as Artists Against the Bomb. We just released a book which includes the works of over 200 artists that are participating in the project so far. And the project is only about to continue growing because every artist also has nominated a second artist, and that second artist will nominate a third. And the number of artists that are participating in the project is going to continue to grow. It's a sort of chain reaction, but not a destructive chain reaction like atomic weapons are, but a human reaction that aims to amplify the message that we need to ban the bomb.
Hi everyone, we're at Town Hall right now during the live scoring of Koyanis Katsi by the Philip Glass Ensemble, hosted by the New York Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons and Youth Arts New York, in collaboration with ICAN. We are so lucky to be here with the Philip Glass Ensemble to celebrate Nuclear Ban Week New York and bridge the arts and music scene in New York City with nuclear abolition. So
Hi, and I'm here with Seth Sheldon, ICAN's United Nations liaison. He has like the best overview over everything that's going on behind the scenes when it comes to universalization of the treaty. And also with Mr. Muhadi Sugioni, lecturer of the Department of International Relations and a researcher at the Institute of International Studies at University of Kachamaha. Thank you so much for being here. Today has been an interesting day when it comes to universalization. What's actually going on in the trusteeship council today, Seth?
Thank you, Tuva. Yes, well, both today as well as yesterday afternoon, we were hearing interventions on Article 12 on universalization. This is the article of the treaty that requires all states parties to call on states that are not party to the treaty to sign it and to ratify it. And we had further elaboration on what universalization means in Vienna under the Vienna Action Plan, where 14 actions were adopted dealing with universalization, requiring states to do things like diplomatic outreach and making statements in public and at the UN and international bodies. So today and yesterday, we heard reports from the co-chairs on universalization, that's Malaysia and South Africa. And it was followed by, I think, 16 interventions from states. And then we had further interventions from ICAN and the ICRC and 6 other CSOs, 6 other civil society organizations. And what they spoke about was all of the activities that were undertaken in the intersessional period on universalization. Just to highlight one, we had this very amazing seminar in Africa, in Pretoria, South Africa, at the beginning of the year, where we had participation from many African states talking about their work to sign and ratify the treaty. And then what we know, too, from all of the reports and interventions is that support for the treaty is very strong right now. We have 69 states parties at the moment, plus an additional 28 countries that have signed the treaty, but have yet still to ratify it. And what we know, too, is that many states are still supporting the treaty that have not yet signed or ratified. We know this from statements they've made and also from the annual UN resolution, where we know 40 more states around support the treaty and are working towards taking actions to sign or ratify. So on the floor, some of the states that intervened and talked about and actually announced that they're making progress to ratify soon include Brazil and Djibouti, Equatorial Guinea, Mozambique, and Nepal, plus one more. And for that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Muhadi to tell us an exciting update as well from his country.
Yeah, thank you very much, Seth. This is a quite interesting development. It's just like a news fresh from the oven. Only 2 weeks ago that we got a very great news that Indonesia finally ratified with the approval from the parliament. This has been something that we have struggled for more than 6 years since Indonesia signed the TPNW in New York. So we try to make sense of what's going on in Indonesia at the time, but actually the consultative process among the government institutions took a long time, and but we were very convinced that the Indonesian government has been very consistent, have been very supportive of the TPNW from the very beginning, and even before the TPNW was adopted. Then, as soon as the government finished with the process, the next fear was whether the parliament will support that or not. And the fear was actually reasonable, because when early this year, I was invited by the parliament to give opinion and views about this, and I didn't see any strong support from the parliamentary members. So the only thing that maybe this is not quite positive position of the parliamentary member, but the end is very good, is that although there are so many dissenting opinions within the parliament, but at the end they say, okay, we have to ratify because the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has signed it already. So this is the minimum thing that we can have, but at the end, it's fine as long as they approve to ratify it. So the ratification of TPNW in Indonesia hopefully will give a significant impact to the universalization of the treaty, because with more than 270 million population, you can imagine how big the coverage of the TPNW to the world population overall.
Thank you so much for your efforts, and congratulations. You have brought the biggest country, what will be the biggest state party, on board to the treaty. That's huge. You said that we had 40 countries that were also supportive to voting yes to a resolution. So there's a lot of campaigners out there that has just to push a little bit more to get their countries on board. But what will be the next milestones that we can reach now? When we reached 50, the treaty entered into force. What's the next one?
Well, of course, it's not always only about the numbers, but if we were to talk about the numbers, I think it's pretty exciting that when you think about the number of states that have taken a treaty action, that have signed it or ratified it or acceded to the treaty, that adds up to 97 states. So that means that we are only 2 more states away from taking a state that takes a treaty action, that signs it, ratifies it, accedes, to being able to say that half of the world, more than half of the world, passing the halfway point of states have taken a treaty action under the treaty that could do so. So that will be exciting, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. That's encouraging words. So just let's push a little bit more, and we will get half of the world's countries on board. Thank you so much for being here, for everything you do. Now, Emma, our roaming reporter, has been outside the room today and will give us some updates from also what's going on in the Trusteeship Council.
Afternoon, everyone. This is Emma for MSP-TV. I am coming to you from the most beautiful cafe at the UN. It's the Terrace Cafe. And we have all of New York City behind me. It is Thursday, day 4 of the second meeting of states parties to the TPNW, and we are in between sessions, just about to start the afternoon session. So discussions in this morning's session were on victim assistance and environmental remediation, as well as universalization of the treaty, which is how we get all states on board. And the afternoon session, which is just about to start, is where we will hear from the Scientific Advisory Group. As always, there's also lots of exciting activity happening outside of the walls of the UN. This morning, as I was walking in, I ran across a protest that was happening right outside alongside the U.S. mission to the United Nations, where campaigners were protesting to demand that the U.S. sign the treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons. If you happen to be watching this from New York, there's very exciting news that tonight, Thursday night at 8:30 p.m., there will be a pub quiz. It will be loosely TPNW related, but fun questions only, so there's no need to be an expert on nuclear weapons or the TPNW. It's happening at 8:30 p.m. at the Rosie Dunn pub, which is 2 blocks from the UN, so I hope to see you there. I am now going to go off to print some of the materials for that, because that is also what our work looks like sometimes. So I will see you later. Back to you, Tuva.
Much, Emma. Now we are wrapping up here from the almost the last day at the UN meeting, at the second meeting of states parties to the UN Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. Tomorrow's the last day. Then we will hear more from the focal point for gender provisions of the treaty. Chile will present their report. We will elect the president for the next state part meetings. We know that Kazakhstan will chair the meeting. We will decide the dates, the venue, and hopefully adopt a declaration. Tomorrow's a huge day, but there's still things happening outside the UN today. The movie War from Hiroshima will be screened, and as Emma told you about, there'll be a pub quiz. We've saved some of the highlights of this week to the last day with MSP-TV. So you don't want to miss it. Tune in tomorrow at 11 a.m. or 5 p.m. Eastern Time. See you there.